As people mourn the killings of two journalists in Virginia on live TV, some wonder what, if anything, could have been done to prevent the attacks. WDBJ reporter Allison Parker and her cameraman Adam Ward were shot to death Wednesday by a former co-worker, Vester Flanagan, who went by Bryce Williams on air. Flanagan had been fired by WDBJ in 2013 after months of disciplinary action related to his angry behavior and outbursts. Court documents show station management had told him to seek counseling, though we do need to be clear, despite writing that he was a, quote, human powder keg just waiting to go boom, there is no evidence that Flanagan was ever diagnosed with mental illness. Nevertheless, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 475 workplace homicides in 2012. More than 80% of them were shootings. And many people are wondering, what do I do if I encounter a coworker who seems to be close to the breaking point or that makes me uncomfortable? Could it lead to something violent? Well, joining us now by Skype to discuss this is psychologist Dr. Jeff Gardier. Dr. Jeff, always good to see you, because I think a lot of people, as they look back on this tragedy and go through the mourning process, wonder what could have been done. I mean, from all indications, it seems like the people there, WDBJ, did all the right things after they recognized he presented a threat. They went to HR, they followed protocol, and he was fired. So what more could have been done?
Well, that's part of the conundrum here, that even if you do the right thing, it doesn't mean that you may be able to solve the problem right away. But what we need to understand is that there is workplace violence. Statistics show that these things do happen very, very often. And so we have to take a page from that particular TV station he last worked at and understand that sometimes people who are angry may have mental health issues. Now, of course, most of us can't diagnose this because we're not psychiatrists or psychologists, social workers, or so on. And that's why it's important we take it to human resources. But the key here is doing it as quickly as possible, especially if you can't resolve the issue with the person one-on-one yourself, if that person is having some sort of a conflict with you.
Well, and it's interesting because these days people are so worried about lawsuits. They want to follow every single protocol, make sure they have all the evidence gathered. If you're in your workplace and you feel like you are in a dangerous situation, do you go immediately or do you have to gather information first?
No, you don't have to gather information. Of course, I'm not a lawyer in these things, but, you know, working in large companies and being part of employee assistance programs, one of the things that I do understand and that we encourage is that you approach the person, if you're not afraid of them, of course, that you approach the person and you try to resolve the situation face to face with that person. And if that doesn't work or the person continues to be threatening, then of course you go to HR and you give your complaint. HR will then gather the information that they need. But even before they do that, they may call you and that individual in or just speak with the individual. And what they will do as part of this gathering of information is to see whether there have been other complaints while the person has been in the particular company that they're working, whether there has been any criminal record, whether there have been any social or psychological issues in the person's background, and then prescribe a path that the person has to take, whether that be some corrective action, a letter in their file, or more importantly, getting help through an employee assistance program and being able to communicate with that program to see how that person is doing, especially if we're talking about an anger management program.
Well, and some good advice there, but let's go back to Vester Flanagan. Disturbing details about his mental state. We can't diagnose him as having a mental health issue. He was never diagnosed professionally, but he posted the attack on social media. He posted disturbing things. His apartment was even disturbing, sparse, covered with pictures of himself. What is it about his actions that professionally, what does it lead you to believe?
Well, and you're absolutely right, and thank you for making that clarification that we really can't diagnose without interviewing this individual, which is impossible now. We can only go back in time and take a look at what's going on. And what it appears is that there's a profile here, the profile of a paranoid personality, delusional personality, somewhat narcissistic, an individual who looks at his own needs, who slights in any little thing that happens, and has a lot of rage issues.
Well, and those kinds of warning signs that you point out and then give good advice on what to do if you see them. As always, Dr. Jeff Gardier, great to have you. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you.